Now let's create a simple frame-by-frame animation. A frame-by-frame animation is an animation where you dictate what the animation will look like in each frame. You can do that by creating and modifying frames, keyframes, and blank keyframes. The first thing I'm going to do is extend the timeline to frame 16. Notice I only have one frame in my animation to start out with. So to extend the timeline, I'm going to deselect all frames by clicking at the bottom of the timeline, and then I'm going to click and drag from frame 16 at the top layer all the way down to frame 16 at the bottom layer. So you can see I still have my mouse down and I have a blue span of frames selected. And now I'll release my mouse button and then I'll press F5 on the keyboard to extend the timeline to frame 16. We're going to start this simple animation by only animating the pedals on the bike. So I actually don't need to see any other layers. I'm going to hide all of the layers except for the pedals and the bike. Now I'm going to zoom in so I can get nice and close to create my animation. Remember that you need to create keyframes to specify a change in the artwork. I'll start by creating keyframes halfway through the animation because in this animation we want the pedals to rotate through a full circle. So I'll go to frame 9 in the top pedals layer and I'll shift click frame 9 in the pedals layer below it and press F6 on the keyboard to convert those regular frames to keyframes. Finally, in the bottom pedals layer, I'll select frame 9 as well and press F6 on the keyboard to insert keyframes. It's important to note my playhead is also on frame 9, so any changes that I make will affect frame 9 only and only the layers that are unlocked. So I'll need to unlock all 3 layers for the pedals. And I'm also going to lock every other layer. So now let's do the halfway point of this animation. To do that, I'm going to use the selection tool and I'm going to select this shape on the stage. And using the free transform tool, I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. Now I'm going to reverse the pedals. So I'll put this pedal on top and this pedal on the bottom. So if I preview the animation, it just looks like the pedals flip over. Now the next thing to do is do the halfway point between the beginning and frame 9 and the halfway point between frame 9 and the end of the animation. So let's go to frame 5 and we'll repeat the steps to create keyframes for all the pedals layers. And I need to make my turn halfway between where it was in frame 1 and where it is on frame 9. So I'll select the middle part of the pedals, rotate it halfway. Now I'll move the pedals into place. And if I scrub the playhead, I can preview the animation. So let's go to 13 and enter the final frames for the animation. So we'll insert those keyframes and then do the final turn. Now if I scrub the playhead, I can preview the animation and the pedals rotate in a circle. So again, when you want to create an animation, you can just create keyframes at the places where you want to change your artwork, make the necessary changes, and repeat to create your animation.